All right, folks. I saw this story in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and it certainly jumped out at me in a huge way. And that is what's happening with the AME Church. A second lawsuit has been filed against the African Methodist Church for allegedly mishandling retirement funds. The AARP Foundation has, first of all, they've joined as co-counsel with the law firm Kantor and Kantor in the Maryland lawsuit against the AME Church. The suit was filed on March 22nd in U.S. District Court in Maryland. It is the second against the denomination. The first was out of Tennessee. They say that $90 million has gone, was been improperly used. Joining us now from Philadelphia, Attorney Scott Lempert, a partner in Kantor and Kantor. Scott, glad to have you here. So, what's going on here? You have a suit in Maryland, suit in Tennessee. What's the deal? What are y'all alleging that the AME Church or who handles their investments has done?
Well, it is apparent, in fact, the church leaders have conceded that they allowed a single individual, one of the defendants that we list, Jerome Harris, who was the executive director of the Department of Retirement Services, essentially giving him full discretion to invest the retirement funds of nearly 5,000 clergy members without any oversight whatsoever.
Whoa. One person?
One person.
So normally when we talk about folks who handle pension funds or investments, normally you have a board, normally you have fund managers, normally you have people who do this professionally. And so was this individual, did he have his own firm or was he employed by the AME denomination?
Yeah, he was employed by AME. He was a reverend and elected by the Council of Bishops who govern the church.
Did he have any financial background?
I don't believe so. That's one issue that the part of the structure is that these folks are elected. And so you're right, Roland, that typically the structure for pension plans, you're talking about millions and millions of dollars. This plan had, before they learned of what this guy had done, they had over $126 million in the pension fund. The way it's normally structured is that there's a committee. There's maybe one chair of that committee who are fiduciaries, who are responsible and have a duty to all of the plan participants to properly and prudently invest that money. They invest that money prudently, meaning that they meet a certain standard that that a prudent man standard is what it's called, that they would invest that money prudently, not in some kind of risky type of investments, which is indeed what happened here. They do have a committee. That committee did nothing. That's just the bottom line. They just did nothing. It's really amazing. I've been litigating cases like this for over 20 years, and I've never seen such mismanagement of a pension plan before.
So you said they had $126 million in their pension fund.
Right.
So what happened with this $90 million? What was it spent on?
Right. So the clergy who are plan participants in this plan were told that the money that they were relying on for their retirement was invested in safe, secure investments through a company called Sumatra. These were annuity investments that were safe and they would grow, but not tremendously, and as a result, there wouldn't be losses. Instead, much of that money was invested in a venture capital group that is no longer in existence, a promissory note with a solar company, and believe it or not, an investment in undeveloped land in Florida. Again, the church leaders and the committee that's supposed to be responsible for this money, for these, for the retirements of thousands of church clergy and others, had no idea that the money was not actually invested in safe investments. Instead, it was invested in these other vehicles that were completely imprudent, highly risky.
So 90 million was lost?
Correct. 90 million was lost.
So only 36 million is left in the retirement fund?
That's right. And what the church leaders have told the retirees and other people that were participants in this plan is, your value that you saw in your statements, your value of your retirement savings is cut by 70%.
Whoa, hold up. So let me just, y'all are alleging, based upon your lawsuit, and you say they've admitted to this, that the AME Church allowed one person, what's his name?
Jerome Harris.
Harris.
He was the former executive director of the Department of Retirement Services. We sued two people in.
They say he was a pastor. From where's he from?
He's from Memphis, Tennessee.
So Reverend Jerome Harris is over this department. It's an elected position, which and normally when it comes to handling money, you don't elect people. Like, look, I'm a 3-time board member of the National Association of Black Journalists. We have a treasurer. We also have an accountant. We also have a finance director, and we got somebody who audited our stuff, but they ain't handling our books. I'm sorry, they're not handling our investments. So he, by himself, made the decision. Have y'all seen the paper trail where he decided to invest in these different entities?
Right. So we just filed the lawsuit. So discovery hasn't begun. We're going to learn a lot more about what's going on once we get into discovery. There is a federal investigation, we understand, as well. We don't know much about that. That's something else, obviously, that we will learn as we litigate this case.
So there was 126 million in the AME Church's pension.
Right.
Now it's 36.
Listen, and the important thing is that, think about it. You're working, right, for the church. You're serving the church. You're a servant of the church. And you get statements every quarter, okay? And that statement shows you how much is in your retirement account. And it says on the statements, Symetra, okay? And Reverend Harris, in fact, every 4 years there's a quadrennial convention, and he told everyone, hey, look, these funds are invested safely and securely in Symetra, and you're getting these statements, and you're relying on this and serving the church, knowing that you have a safe, secure retirement when it's time to retire. And now you're looking at the amount that you had, that you're relying on to live a life during retirement that is now 2/3 less than
So if you had $100,000 in there, you got 30.
Right. Well, 33, yeah. Right.
Wow. Reverend Jeff Carr, you get the first question. This is unbelievable.
Yeah, this is absolutely unbelievable, considering the long history, going back to Richard Allen, of an institution that is over 200 years old. I think 1787 to 235 years old, and has such strict protocols. When we think about Richard Allen and the legacy that he's got here, my wife came up AME. There are very strict protocols and history in the AME Church, going back to her grandfather, who was historiographer of the church. We hear about so many controls that are in place in institutions like this. It is surprising and shocking that I hear that this was entrusted to one individual without a check and balance. But Attorney Lempert, could you just describe to people who may say, why isn't $90 million just sitting in a bank drawing interest? Explain how retirement funds are traditionally invested to grow those funds for people who are in need of them.
Right. So the way it works is that there's a trust of money, and in this instance, the plan required the church to make contributions for each plan participant, each pastor and elder and college president and all those folks that are members of the employees of the church that participate in the plan. The church then funds for each person a certain percentage of their salary. It goes into a trust. That trust is then invested by, again, the way it's supposed to work, by a committee. And in fact, the way the church has something called the Doctrine and Discipline that it publishes every 4 years, right after the quadrennial. And it lays out, as you're saying, lots and lots and lots of rules and regulations and things that have passed and all of that, and give direction to clergy and to members of the church. And there is a section on retirement in that Doctrine and Discipline, and it lays all of this out. And it indicates that there is indeed a committee that's governing this trust and investing it pursuant to federal law that governs pension plans. That was not done here, despite the fact that the Doctrine and Discipline said indeed that was the way it was supposed to work. So the law requires that these fiduciaries, these people responsible for the trust, invest the money prudently and loyally, meaning that they invest it in a way that takes on reasonable risk and earns reasonable returns, and also is invested with the interest of the plan participants, only the interests of the plan participants, right? So you can't, for example, invest in something that benefits some of the fiduciaries, right? So, if you have a business, you can't invest necessarily the money into your own business because perhaps that's not being loyal to the plan participants.
Julian.
Oh, this is such a hard story. I am a member of Metropolitan AME Church in Washington, D.C. And when I saw that this was on our list, I called my pastor and said, bro, what's going on? And he's as devastated as anyone else is. They are required, pastors are required, if they were appointed by a bishop, they're required to put 12% of their salary into this pension fund. It's not voluntary. The church doesn't do it. Those individuals support that money. Now, the church may match it, but that means that this brother, who's about 50, has been saving, for 20 years, and he's got to have little or nothing to show for it. I'm interested in this one-man band, I wrote it down. Anyway, the one-man band, Harris.
Dr. Harris, yeah.
Well, I'm going to call him irreverent, because if he did that, there's no reverend that belongs in front of his name. But, Brother Attorney, what is his background? Roland really asked the right questions when he talked about the NABJ board. All of our voluntary agencies, organizations, 501c3s have treasurers, but there's always an accountant. There's always someone else. The treasurer is not writing the check. The treasurer is not saying, let's go buy some vacant land in Florida. And the question I would have about that is, did his brother own that land, or his daddy, or someone like that? Because this seems highly imprudent. But what more can you tell us about his background? Was he craven?
I don't know a tremendous amount, frankly, about him. Certainly, he was responsible as a fiduciary, as the director of the Department of Retirement Services, to prudently invest these funds. And he clearly didn't do that. But again, it's a larger structure. Oftentimes, companies will have a plan and have a committee. They're not all necessarily investment wizards. They come from a variety of backgrounds, but they all take an oath, essentially. They have a duty under the law to make sure that those plan assets are invested properly, that those plan assets are invested in a way that will grow, but not in a way that is in risky or conflicted kinds of investments. And that clearly wasn't done here.
I hope, Roland, I just would, please don't hold this against the AME Church. Hold this against these individuals. The AME Church is Frederick Douglass's church with a rich history.
No.
That's all I have.
No. Okay. First of all, again, the AME Church has released a statement. So let me just do this here. Let me read the statement. So please pull the statement up. This was released October 2021. The Department of Retirement Services has reported a material loss in the value of one or more of its departmental investments. A comprehensive audit and review of the department, the subject investments, and the fiduciaries overseeing the retirement funds and other accounts is underway. The review is being conducted by an independent law firm and accounting firm. A report with detailed findings has been requested and will be made available publicly upon its receipt. The independent report will indicate whether the subject investment had any impact to retirement funds. The independent report will indicate whether the subject investment had any impact to private funds. The department has advised that all life insurance coverage provided to participants has not been affected by the value of the departmental investments, which are outside the life insurance program. As a result, life insurance beneficiaries will receive the full value of any valid policy claim. Pending the receipt of the report and findings, the department will hold all new deposits in a standard checking sweep account only. Bishop E. Ann Henning Byfield, President the Council of Bishops of the AME Church, Bishop Adam J. Richardson, Senior Bishop, Bishop Ronnie Brailsford, the Secretary. Here's the question that I have for you, Scott. One, that was October 2021. Has that report been released? Is it done to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge, no,
Okay.
We haven't seen that.
All right, so here's why I have to disagree on this one, Julian. Yes, if what the lawsuit is alleging, let's be clear, if what the lawsuit is alleging, that $90 million of $126 million was invested in risky ventures leading to losses, I absolutely will hold the AME responsible, because leadership is responsible for leading. And if this lawsuit, if the federal investigation, I would assume, Scott, you also have state investigations going on.
We don't know. Again, this is the investigations that we're aware of is from communications from the church itself, right? But they have not indicated any more detail. So we don't know what body. We know it's federal, at least one of them anyway, is federal, but we don't know what agency is investigating, and we don't know kind of where it is in the process. Again, those are things that we learn during the litigation.
So the thing here is that, and again, the allegation that Scott is making based upon the lawsuit is that they allow one person to make these investments. Meaning, just correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, that this wasn't a situation where this one person took it to a committee, took it to a team of professionals and said, hey, please analyze this, look at this. What your lawsuit is alleging is that this one bishop decided this one reverend decided on his own what to invest in, and there was no one overseeing him, no procedures in place, that he and he alone could decide where the money could be spent.
Yeah, and Roland, you're exactly right on a lot of what you've just said about the church's culpability here. And they are named as a defendant, as is the Council of Bishops, as is the General Board of the Church. And it's because they have a fiduciary duty to oversee what the Committee of Trustees, this committee that we've been talking about that did nothing, the committee and Reverend Harris were doing with the pension fund, with the money in the pension fund. Okay, nobody did anything. I mean, that's what's so amazing to us is that it was a complete abrogation of their duties to protect all of their clergy's retirement savings.
And that's the whole point, that, again, if the allegations laid out in this lawsuit are true, I absolutely must hold leadership accountable. When I sat on the board of NABJ, there were things that would come up, and I would tell other board members, you have a fiduciary responsibility that when you are elected, this is what our objective is. We cannot sit here and go, sorry, I didn't realize that we were losing money. Oh, we got an executive director. Why we didn't know? Our job as a board to know. I was on the executive committee. We were the personnel committee. It was our responsibility. And when you're talking about you got $126 million, we're not talking about a pension fund of $1.2 billion and you've got money invested. The reality is you want to put your stuff in smart investments so you never get caught. Definitely stuff that's not really, really, really high risk that will jumps out. Scott, your lawsuit alleges that it was a venture capital firm that's now out of business. It was called, first of all, Motor Skill Ventures Group.
Yeah.
Who ran that?
We don't know. I mean, there's nothing. You can't find anything about them. Again, we'll learn about it. Presumably, the church has information about this, but you go on the internet and they're just closed.
Also, Symetra. Who is that? How long have they been around? Who runs that?
So that's been around for a while, and they provide annuity products, and they do provide annuity products for pension plans.
So the money, so what I'm reading here, the money was moved out of Symetra's annuity investments, which this is the established firm, safe, their products.
Right.
The money was taken out of Symetra and moved to this Motor Skill Ventures Group.
At some point, we believe that to be the case.
And this Financial Freedom Fund, LLC, the manager of a private real estate investment trust.
Right.
Who is that?
Again, that's a continuing entity. And what the plan did was through Freedom Fund, they provided a promissory note to a solar company called Day and Night Solar. We don't know, again, why a fiduciary would do such a thing with the retirement savings of their clergy. That's something we have to learn while we litigate this case. But it's clearly imprudent. It lost at least a third of its value.
Wow. This is Bishop Jerome Harris, who used to run this department. Am I reading this correct? That also the office was cleared out and the only thing left there were paper clips?
Yeah, so that's a statement from the Reverend Miller, who took Reverend Harris's place as executive director of the Department of Retirement Services. So again, we're not sure about the timing of all of this. We don't know how long these investments were made, how long ago these investments were made. But after Reverend Harris left and Reverend Miller took over the department, he literally said that they went into the office, the executive director's office, which is now his office. That was Dr. Harris's office, and it was cleaned out. There's nothing in there. Just some paper clips, is what he said.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's just, again, I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I've never seen such mismanagement by an entity in which allowed for one individual to control all of the trust funds and invest it any which way he or she wanted. And never have I seen where, there are no documents that the employer has as it relates to their plan and the investments that were made.
Attorney Scott Lempert, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Keep abreast of what happens next.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?